Recognizes the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. DeFazio.
Yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
I rise in support of H.R. 8, Water Resources Development Act 2018. This is the product of many months of hard work by members of the committee and staff. I particularly want to congratulate the chairman. This will be his last WRDA bill. But until his leadership, water resources bills had languished for, I believe, a decade. So this has been a tremendous achievement. This is a good bill, however, it could be better. In the last Congress, I offered an amendment in committee to take the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund off budget, allow the Corps to spend the proceeds collected in the trust fund every year, and draw down the surplus to deal with our backlog on all our ports. Ports affect the entire nation. Anytime you have an import or an export, which covers virtually all of the states of the Union, and these red dots are harbors that are critical to our infrastructure. On a daily basis, our major ports are at about 35% of their authorized depths. 35%. Why is that? Well, because we don't have the money to fix them. And the jetties are falling apart. Don't have the money to fix them. Well, actually, we do have the money to fix them. But some very short-sighted people around here want to play games. They want to collect a tax from the American people, minuscule tax, 0.0125 cents on the value of every imported good that comes through a harbor. That is, if you buy a $30,000 car, you're going to spend about $37.50 that, starting with Ronald Reagan, was dedicated to maintaining our harbors at proper depths and maintaining the jetties for these harbors, and not limiting the funds just to the commercial harbors, but to small and emerging ports, which are also critical to the nation, the fishing industry, recreation, and others. However, and this has been a bipartisan problem, starting even when Democrats have been in charge, this has been underspent on an annual basis. Today, there's $10.5 billion of taxes collected from the American people sitting idle or having been spent somewhere else. It's got a theoretical trust fund. Now, that is going to grow every year as we underspend this tax. It could grow to $20 billion within a decade. So we don't have the money to dredge the ports. We don't have the money to fix the jetties because Congress is diverting the money. I actually worked on this with the chairman's father quite some time ago, and the chairman has been supportive of my efforts. Unfortunately, it was stripped out of that bill by the Rules Committee 2 years ago, and this year, again, Rules found that this was not, that they would not allow this to go forward. So we offered it in a different form to get around their technical objections about budget caps and discretionary spending. So we offered, well, actually there's a way around that. They didn't like that either. They want to continue to steal money from the American people and divert it to be spent who knows where, somewhere else, but not on our harbors and our ports. Now, the administration actually sent what's called a statement down to us with a SAP, and it really is a SAP. They are SAPs. A statement of administration policy is what it stands for. And sorry, I forgot to shut this stupid thing off. There we go. They sent down a provision. Or they said, this is great that you're not allowing the Congress to spend the tax collected from the American people on the stated purpose. What? Really? Yep, that's their position. They say the ports should have greater flexibility to spend local money on the ports. Well, they have all the flexibility in the world to spend local money on local ports. They can partner with the Corps and fund Corps activities. I did that a number of years ago in Oregon. They don't have the money. And we're depriving them of the money. But this is the Trump administration solution. The big infrastructure package, this is going to be counted. We're going to add $3 billion to the pile of unfunded core projects. We've got today $96 billion of core projects that have been authorized by Congress that aren't funded in the foreseeable future. At the end of this debate, there will be 99, almost $100 billion. Quite an achievement. And the administration is applauding this. They think this is just great because it gives the local ports the capability of raising money they can't raise to spend on the improvements they can't make. Meanwhile, we're stealing money from the American people. It's a very sad day. So with that said, I'll move on. There are other issues in this bill that are critical. We have $3 billion in new chiefs reports, which will go on the shelf for the indefinite future, maybe 100 years or longer. But people can go home and say, well, I got that project. All we need to do now is get the money. Maybe a future Congress, maybe next year, will decide to start spending the harbor maintenance tax on harbor maintenance. Who knows? Might depend upon who's in charge around here. There are other provisions in here that are critical, authorizing the National Levee Safety Initiative, National Dam Safety Program. Those are pretty important things. Promoting improved safety measures, reducing the risk to life and property. There's a couple of provisions that benefit or would go for core projects in my district, one relating to Fern Ridge Dam and a collapsing road near the dam. A number of years ago, we had to expedite funds to fix the collapsing dam. Now we have a collapsing road by the collapsing dam. And hopefully the Corps can get to that before we have a major problem. And then delivering on a very long ago promise to Indian tribes that were displaced by dams that were built, not as 3/4 of a century ago, and their villages were flooded and displaced, and this would authorize the Corps to provide housing assistance to those tribes. There are other meritorious things in this bill, and again, I want to congratulate the chairman on what will be the third consecutive 2-year authorization of the Water Resources Development Act. We just need to find the will and the money to fund the necessary projects. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Pennsylvania.